Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Fifth Avenue Cinema Podcast, a podcast about frilly blouses, masquerade balls, and the difficulties that come with having roommates. We are coming to you somewhat live from the safety of our homes and bringing you the latest in all things cinema. My name is Genevieve. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the projectionist / podcast host here. And this week, I shout out Kyle MacLachlan because I've been rewatching Twin Peaks, and he's great. Yeah. And I'm joined by...
Hello, this is Owen. I use he, him pronouns. I am currently transitioning between jobs from publicity coordinator to cinema coordinator. And my shout out is going to go to a song called Soul Alphabet. It's a very good song. It's entirely instrumental. It's played on an old Baroque instrument. It's very good, and it makes me less stressed about school.
By who?
The name I always forget. Colleen. That's the name of the artist. She's like an ambient instrumental artist from Spain. So putting you all on, yes.
Post it on the Instagram.
Right. Yeah, and who was that we just heard?
Nayeli, the podcast editor. I use she, they pronouns. And today, my shout out goes to all the Taurus babies out there. It's Taurus season. It's our time. Shout out Trisha Paytas. Shout out Karl Marx.
Birthday week.
Shout out Maddie Lou, who unfortunately can't make it today. And of course, shout out to me, the best Taurus. Like, come on. Why didn't any of y'all wish me happy birthday? It's not today. I'm kidding.
I could play a Uno reverse card on all of you, so I already passed.
Yeah, but and today we have a brand new member.
Yes.
Yes, hello. I am Andy. I use they, them pronouns, and I am the incoming publicity coordinator.
Yep.
And you know what? I'm going to come in with 2 shout outs.
Awesome.
I got one for you all for bringing me in here. I'm super excited. And then also to the Oregon Convention Center for running a super tight shift with the vaccines. Did a great job. Went right through. I got mine on Monday, and it was
nice.
It was top notch. So yeah.
I don't know how to segue from vaccines to speaking of a word that starts with V. Today we are talking about the 2014 film What We Do in the Shadows, directed by Jermaine Clement and Taika Waititi.
When you get 3 vampires in a flat, obviously there's going to be a lot of tension.
Viago was an 18th century dandy.
Look, a ghost cop. Vladislav is a bit of a pervert.
This is my torture chamber.
Deacon's like the young bad boy of the group.
I'm supposed to pay rent, but I don't.
Yeah, so this movie is just fucking funny. That's all you really need to know about it. I mean, okay. It's a mockumentary about vampires who live in New Zealand. I don't remember what specific city, but
it's Wellington.
Wellington. Yeah, so it's like these 4 roommate vampires, all from they're all different ages, and it's just like them living and the crazy shit that apparently happens in the vampire world. And it's just super funny, super campy. And we all of the movies that we pick are sad.
Yes.
So we really need to switch it up.
We do.
We usually pick something sad or serious. There will be funny moments, but it's not like a comedy. And this is just probably one of my favorite comedies of all time. I could rewatch this anytime, any place, anywhere.
Yeah, I feel like it's vampires. They're just like us.
Yeah. I saw an interesting thing before I began watching it earlier, which was like, this is apparently in 2020, this was the most like rewatched by heavy rewatchers on Letterboxd. Like people who rewatch movies a lot rewatched this movie the most last year, which I thought was a really weird but like very fitting title for the movie, because it is, like you said, something that you can just put on any time, which isn't something that you can say about most movies, and it just flows, and it really just brightens your mood, I feel like, because it's just like it takes you out of your life enough, but it's still within it, that it's great.
I think okay. Already off the gate, I have to make it about anime. It gives me the good parts, the good, like you said, like takes you out of it enough. And like I think that's why I like anime a lot, because it like really takes me away from like just thinking about the world. And it's really hard for me to do that with like, you know, live action movie or TV show. But this kind of like does that for me, but it's like actually people on the screen and not a drawing.
It just like breaks away from reality like just enough that it's like
Exactly,
you feel,
yeah.
but it's so comforting. Like all of these characters are so like you just want to be friends. Like you want to be a roommate, you know?
Yeah.
Literally. Yeah, I thought it was funny that Jermaine Clement and Taika Waititi, I guess, wrote 150 pages of a script and then decided not to show it to anyone on the cast or crew. Oh. So that like things were kept more like spontaneous, and that like their reactions more would be like genuine, and they like didn't know what was coming. And so yeah, a lot of the jokes, a lot of the scenes are just improvised and just them fucking around. They also, they I guess filmed about 125 hours of footage.
Oh wow.
And the movie is only 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like I feel like that's one of the things about comedies that I always hear is like it's like I feel like it's a category that like a lot of people who like really love like films kind of like scoff at, but like there's so much freedom in filmmaking when it comes to like comedies. Like people are always talking about like improvisation and like really like standout actors who like make a comedy. Like Robin Williams was like the like case of that. And like this is another example. Like they just were like kind of able to do like interesting things.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Have like a good dynamic between each other. Yeah. I really hope that the stuff about the Nazi vampires was improv. I hope they didn't write that.
Well, so here's the thing. That scene kind of came up, and I was like, okay. I feel like when it comes, there's like a certain threshold of who is willing to go that far and who isn't. And there is that question. Like I remember I saw this thing where it was like, were the minions a part of Nazi Germany because, you know, they were villains, and there was that. But I know that Taika is Jewish.
Yeah.
And so I immediately was like, oh, okay, of course he did this. Because, you know, he also did Jojo Rabbit, which...
Yeah. The whole movie,
Yeah, the whole movie is kind of like, I guess, Nazi jokes, which sounds wrong, but... it's done well, and you know, because he is Jewish, he also like knows how to like, I think, where to draw the line with that. But I think it's great to have that in there, because it's true. If you're going to talk about like vampires and like these murderous beings, of course there was Nazi vampires.
It's just so funny where he's like, after the war, you did not want to be a Nazi. And you definitely did not want to be a Nazi vampire. And that's like 10 minutes into the film.
Yeah, right.
It's also interesting kind of figuring out what is like socially acceptable between the vampires, because obviously they're still like friends with him, the Nazi vampire, but also even with, I don't remember the new vampire's name, but even after he killed Peter, like they're like, okay, we're holding a trial, you fucked up, you're banished, but also like you're not really like, we're not gonna like try to fight you. You just can't live with
Right.
us anymore. Even though you
Yeah.
killed a roommate who's 8,000 years old.
I mean, they shamed him, so we had that.
He was wearing the same jacket, so it is a worthy offense.
I wonder if that was like an MCR thing. Doesn't it look like an MC? To me, it seemed more like an MCR shirt or like jacket than copying what's his face's like jacket.
Deacon,
Yeah.
I don't know enough about MCR to make that judgment.
Oh my god!
So I'll leave it to you.
The disrespect. And you said you were on Tumblr.
Yeah, I was on Lana Del Rey Tumblr. Okay, I'm that kind of mentally
different
ill.
sides.
Something else that I found that I thought was really cool is that each of like the main characters can kind of be like likened to like a famous vampire in pop culture.
Mm-hmm.
So Peter is kind of like Nosferatu, like the original pale, decrepit, like big features type thing. Deacon is like David from The Lost Boys, which I absolutely love. I think The Lost Boys is so good. I love that film.
Didn't he reference it?
Like, yeah, because like the worm thing that they do with the noodles, that's like they lifted that from The Lost Boys. And then Vlad is like Gary Oldman's Dracula in the 1992 Dracula, which I actually haven't seen, so can't say anything about that. Nick is like Edward Cullen, of course. You know, he's going around saying Twilight, I'm that guy. And Viago is like Louis Depont du Lac from Interview with a Vampire, which is Brad Pitt's character in that film, which I wrote because I also haven't seen that one. But
he really made himself Brad Pitt.
Yeah, well, I think Brad Pitt is supposed to be in that movie more like a vampire who's more like a soft, I guess you could say, and effeminate, like Viago being. I love this scene where he's getting ready to like eat that lady. And he's like, it's their last moments alive, so I want to make it nice for them.
Yeah, like with the flowers.
And then he hits the main artery.
He's like putting down towels and stuff.
Yeah, the newspaper, that was what got me. I was like, and he's just like lifting up her heel and then puts it underneath. It's just like, oh my. So I think that's one thing, like the physical comedy of the movie was what really got me. The way that they interacted, I think because of the documentarian style, they had to be so poised with that. And I mean, they're all Taika Waititi, obviously the most established of them all, but they're obviously so good at it. And that's what I think makes the film so funny. I think the other thing was the noises that they make. I don't know if it's just like in the moment they're doing it, but then there's like funny screeching that's just like so hilarious when they're running. I remember when they're chasing, I think Nick, after they invite him over for dinner, and like he's trying to get into the rooms, and there's like one scene where Taika Waititi's character is just like grunting, so funny as he's chasing him, and I just was busting laughing. Like, why is this so funny to me? But it was just the way he was doing it. I just couldn't stop.
Also, like the fact that they got some kind of fly system. So
yeah,
it's so good.
I love it when Nick is first like turned into a vampire, and he's like, I always wanted to come in through the window, and it takes him like 10 seconds to actually get through the window.
I wonder what the budget for this movie was, because I mean, it to me it's kind of obvious that it isn't like a high production, you know, but it still isn't like no budget, you know.
Right.
They still like had to spend a lot on like costumes. It seemed like a set, right?
Oh yeah.
I feel like it had to be with how, remember that one scene where they're fighting and they like are going along all the walls? Like I feel like you'd have to have a set like rotated 20 or 45 degrees to make that work, unless they had some contraption the way they were moving. I know that's how they did it in like think Train Spotting, they had it tilted different angles so that they could do something like that practically, but yeah, I don't know.
And Taika Waititi had made several films at this point, right? This is like 4th or 5th film, I think, or something. So probably could get a decent budget for.
Oh, that's true.
When I first watched this, and when I first watched Hunt for the Wilder Beast, also, I mean, I'm not too in it. You know, I know the least about film, so it seemed like he didn't really blow up until he did the like Avengers thing, like I guess more mainstreamly.
That's what it was. Yeah,
this was like I think definitely like Shark and Eagle or something, and like there was a TV show that they did.
They also created Flight of the Conchords.
Yeah, Flight of the Conchords, and then like Taika had done 2 movies before this, but like so probably had connections, and it definitely seemed like a set though. Definitely, like with like the dishes scene when they're like in the kitchen, all up on the walls, like it's so good, like hissing at each other.
Yeah,
it must have been so much fun to do props for this movie. It to me, it just gave me like theater vibes. It gave me gay vibes. Like it's just one of those things that it's just like a gay movie, and it's not there's nothing necessarily concretely like homosexual about it, but it's just gay, you know. And for the audience, I am gay, if that wasn't clear already.
I think it was so funny when the familiar, I think it's Deacon's familiar, it's like they don't even wear shirts, they wear blouses. What is this? Like some big homoerotic party in the house.
Right.
And like, isn't there a scene where they're wearing like a mesh shirt? Like
the one where they're dancing. That was so funny. That was the funniest part for me. I was just like, oh my, this is so good. Because dancing for me in movies always gets me. I don't know what it is. I think it's like the vulnerability aspect of dancing. It's just like a funny thing to me. And the way he was doing it was just
It was like staring at the camera.
Yeah.
I don't know. They somehow make them all just like, they're just like so sexy. Like their characters, the way they act, like the way that they like just move around. Like they just know that they're like, we're the coolest vampires in Wellington.
Because they're vampires.
But they can't get into the club.
I was gonna say, like, I think the costumes add to
100%.
the gayness a lot.
Too,
just because it's like, nobody dresses like that anymore, even though we totally should.
And they totally like the scene where they're getting dressed, like where they can't see their own reflections and they're like trying to like draw them with like, it's so good. Oh yeah,
so good. Yeah, they have to keep asking each other which one to wear. And I like how the film that it's not just about vampires, it's also kind of like about a whole like secret magical society, and like it kind of like world builds, I guess you could say, like with the werewolves and their rivalries.
It was like a pack of theater kids meet a pack of like Portlanders.
Especially the data guy friend.
Stu.
Yeah, he's like the perfect juxtaposition, like, to all of them. And it's so funny that at the end he ends up being a werewolf, because it's like it's so obvious that that's the group that he fits into.
Oh my gosh. And the cops too, like they're so inept. Like they're just like prosecuting that dog.
Look what you did.
Put it down. Yeah, like
I love it when the werewolf, the like alpha, his line is like, werewolves, not swearwolves.
And that's like the kid humor that's like, it's like almost kind of like silly, like it's like
it's very like juvenile even,
but it just works so good.
Yeah, it fits. The whole film is like outrageous and like outlandish, where it's a documentary about vampires, you know, like you just have to go there, be that ridiculous.
They already have all of this material, all of this vampire history, like, and it like works for like film people or like people that just love vampires. Like it like gets so many audiences, and like, and then they can just like spin it into the best jokes, like the reflections, like getting invited in, like all of these things are just like everybody kind of has like a context that they can relate to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's so enjoyable to watch.
I like that. Yeah, they take every vampire stereotype basically at some point and like make a joke about it, and I love that. I love when Viago is talking about the like silver necklace that like the woman gave to him, and he's like, I can't wear it for long, but he puts it on for as long as he can, and I was like, oh, I need a man to love me like Viago.
And the shit at the end with when he finds the girl again when she's like a grandma.
He's like 90 something.
So
yeah.
funny.
Call me a cradle snatcher.
Yeah, all the jokes about age were so funny because I wasn't exactly expecting it because you forget that they're like supposed to be way older because they're stuck in their age. It's just so clever, like.
Oh, but the children vampires, that was good.
Yeah, that too.
Oh,
Yeah, also made me laugh. Yeah, like Vlad is like, so you gonna kill some perverts tonight? And they're like, yeah, we're meeting up with a pedophile.
And randomly it just cuts to like the footage, like it looks like a warehouse camera almost, like cutting to the footage of them just eating the pervert guy.
Yeah. What's also so good about this film is that so many of its jokes are like subtle almost, or like easy to miss. Rewatching it, there were so many jokes that I'd forgotten about. And like I did not remember Nazi vampires at all. That's why I was losing it. Like, and I think that's also part of the reason why it's so fun to like constantly rewatch, or like, oh, I missed that last time. Oh, or you like see new jokes and it just makes it better.
Even if you like you know all the jokes and you're anticipating them, like they're just like so like funny, and like Taika Waititi's character is like so welcoming. Like you're like, oh, one of my best friends.
I think I read that Taika Waititi said he based his performance on his mother, and then Jermaine Clement, who's Deacon, like based it on like Gary Oldman's Dracula and like The Lost Boys. I was like, your mother.
Hello, beast.
Hello, asshole.
Hey, don't call me asshole.
Don't call me beast. This is Vladislav.
Absolutely the same.
This is my ex-boyfriend. You know, the one who fucked that beast.
All right, that's old business. That's personal business.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you, asshole.
This is my lover.
You will not feast on the blood of the human known
Listen,
as
asshole,
stew.
this
You
is
open.
human, and this is the rules. And what this camera's doing here?
Yeah, well, so speaking of the world building again, it all kind of culminates in the ball. And leading up to the ball, I think just one of the bits that like I always remember is the beast. And the beast is like described as this like, rival to Vlad, and like played out to be like this monster. And how it's done as well is that they, in the whole documentary, they use a lot of pictures, like they'll be showing pictures, which I really enjoy. I thought that was so much fun. And for the beast, it's just like this drawing of this monster, and then they get to the ball and it's just his ex-girlfriend.
It's just so funny because so many middle-aged men like do shit like that. It's
No,
so
yeah.
Like, oh, my ex-wife, the beast. Like,
and like even movies too. Like there are so many movies that are about these male characters who like villainize these like women who are their exes, and it's like these whole narratives about like this terrible person who does this terrible thing, and like this movie's told, and like you never like you meet her and you're like, oh, that's really it. You're that's kind of sad.
Yeah, you're like,
just,
damn, Vlad, you
tore up
sure you're
about
that
this.
powerful? Yeah. And then I mean they like get back together tentatively.
Stu is great. We really like him.
At first, I wanted to kill him, but now I'm glad I spent the time to get to know him.
Yeah, of course, he looks delicious with his big red cheeks, but we've all got an agreement that we're not going to eat stew, right?
Right.
That was also funny to see Stu show them plug in a TV or whatever, and it's like, I guess when you are that old, time just slips away if you just don't pay attention enough. But like, Did they really not know?
Yeah, oh my god, I thought it was so funny when they're like, yeah, we can search for anything. And then Viaga's like, I lost a silk scarf in like 1910. Can we find that? They're like, yeah, look for that. Search that.
They just make this movie so strong that there's so many things that they can pull from. Things that we understand as an audience, or like things that we like kind of connect to automatically with age, vampires, like technology, like all these things that are just, there's so much like rich material, and they just executed on it so well.
Even the like 5 minutes of the movie where it actually gets like semi-deep, where they start talking about death, and they're like, the worst thing about being a vampire is when you have to watch everybody die around you, and then just start cracking jokes like right after, like it's in the middle of it. It's just like they can't.
Yeah, it has like a good balance, where there are like those moments where it's like, aw, or like, damn, that was profound.
The pace is so good. Like the pace is so good. Like the part where they're at that like little bar, and like Nick eats the French fry, and like it has like such a moment of like kind of like downtime where you kind of get to like be with these characters, and like the pace is really kind of caters to that feeling too. Like, it's really good.
Yeah, and I feel like so much happens in it, considering it's literally only like 90 minutes. It feels longer, I guess, but like in a good way. And I wish it was longer. Release the director's cut. Let's see the other 123 hours of footage.
I mean, they got the TV show, right? So
yeah.
I wonder if there was some New Zealander jokes that like I totally did not catch.
I know.
Probably Kiwis.
I do think that their accents also add to it.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
He does that in Jojo Rabbit too, though. It's like the British accent with some of them when they're German, and then the German accent that he does, obviously, because he's Hitler in the movie, but he's not German, which he does a very, very good German accent. I think little stuff like that, though, it does catch you, and is like the character in Jojo Rabbit, I forget the name, the friend of the main character. He has a British accent.
So cute. I love that kid.
It's so funny though, because it's just like his character is already hilarious, and then it's just like it's just the little things about this movie and just his work in general that are just so, it just adds that extra level. And I wonder what like my dad would say about this, who doesn't care about stuff that's maybe like that I would watch. Like I'm trying to think of a movie that I told him to watch that he didn't like. It's like a lot of them, but I wonder what I'm sure he would love this movie.
My family all loves this movie. It's a great like movie for everyone, I feel like.
It really is, like, because it's so positive. That's something that I think that like Taika Waititi does that like so many other directors can't do very well, like comedy directors, is make funny jokes that are like actually good and that are not cynical,
punching down,
or like pulling other people down. Like all of his movies that I've seen, even like the kind of more somber ones like Hunt for the Wilder People, or like even like Thor, which I don't really love Marvel, but Ragnarok was great. I like it too. I really connect to his style.
Yeah, it's very like optimistic, I want to say, but like at the same time he is good at like acknowledging that like there's also bad stuff.
Yeah, like he's not naive. But like Peter getting burned up by a vampire hunter in the basement.
As I was watching it, I was thinking that this is the perfect way to do a mockumentary, in that it's like something ridiculous.
And what are other examples of mockumentaries?
I think my other ideal of a mockumentary is Pop Star, Never Stop, Never Stopping.
I haven't
with
seen
Andy Samberg.
Andy Samberg.
I haven't seen that one.
I love Andy Samberg. First of all, so I'm biased, but
isn't Borat one too?
Funny.
That's a thing.
Yeah, I would say kind of. I mean,
The Office would be the one that everyone would know.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's like Spinal Tap, which is like
that one's
the old like 70s like rockers, kind of like AC/DC kind of like. And Best in Show is like a dog show, like That one's really funny too. I feel like this really nails it though.
Yeah, I feel like doing like a ridiculous, obviously like not real concept, and just treating it as like something so seriously that people would want to like make a documentary about it. I love that like irony.
And like maybe that's why it's so successful. I feel like so many people take vampires so seriously. Like there are so many people that are like, I love vampires. Like vampires are my life. Like the real versions of the Portlandia characters that are like that love the darkness. Like yeah, like there's lots of people out there who love vampires, and so like this movie connects to a lot of people who
they're just like us.
Yeah.
They have flat meetings and argue about dishes.
There's so many things about this movie that are
like bat fight. I love that part.
Imagine being in the writer's room when they're coming up with this stuff.
I don't even like how much of this stuff did they even come up with beforehand is the thing too. That's what makes, I think, part of why I think it's so great, because it's like, one, Taika and Jermaine were the only ones who like actually knew what was in the script,
right?
Which is so funny. They were like, no, you're not gonna see it.
I just feel like too, like there's a lot of even like the special effects in this movie, like the visual effects are so good. The little subtle things where like they open the closet and like Jermaine's like in the like room upside down, or like at the bottom of that pit, like in his bed, or like the cat face on like the
Oh yeah. He's like, he used to be able to turn into anything. Now he never gets the face right.
You don't stop to think like, wait, whoa, is this not a documentary? Like they could have so easily messed up. There's so many like little polished parts that like I feel like it's easy to not even think about.
Yeah. And I love how it's the crew like is referenced, especially by like other characters, or they're like, what are all these people here? What is this? Or like I think like towards the end when like the werewolves are turning, they like eat one of the cameramen, and you see like the camera just like falls and gets all staticky. Like I think that kind of stuff is so fun for like a documentary found footage or something like.
Like the when they're explaining how Stu became a werewolf, and it cuts to that reenactment where it's like shot on like a shitty camera and like really terrible color grade, and it's like a terrible reenactment. It's so funny.
The werewolf guys are all naked. They
blur it.
I loved how it is a reenactment on the screen while during it.
Does anybody know what Taika is doing next? Is there? I know there's like another Thor.
Yeah.
There's that, and there's another movie. It's either about rugby or soccer.
Oh, nice.
Doing right
that's
now.
all up your alley.
Yeah. That's all I know about it.
I hope it's more gay than this movie was. That would make me love it. I would love to see that.
Yeah.
More gay movies.
Yeah.
Not about gay people. Gay movies.
Yeah.
I mean, both can coexist, but
yes, please.
So I feel like the conversation is wrapping up. So I have a closing question for everyone.
Oh, cool.
Would you rather be a vampire or a werewolf?
A vampire, 100%.
Definitely vampire. Everything about it is so much like, for me, I would also totally love to be like a super side character in the Twilight universe, like some like really like obscure background vampire who's just like shows up from
Cullen's like cousins.
Yeah.
Or like even like a Cullen fanboy, like just like.
When I was working at Doug Fir, one of the security guys was talking about the production manager and was trying to get her attention or something. And so he was just referring to her, and another security guy was like, "Oh, you mean the one that looks like a vampire?" And I just want that. I want people to refer to me as the one that looks like a vampire. That's all I need in life.
do you eventually turn into like a Peter? Like, do you eventually get that like teeth that stick out of your mouth kind of like look?
I'll take it.
I mean, after 8,000 years.
Yeah.
Like, you never know.
Well, but also like 8,000 years, like we don't know exactly how humans looked like then.
True.
So it could be a product of like
8,000 years. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Like 8,000. That's like before like even human history was being like.
Yeah.
Not necessarily true. That's not necessarily true. But we only have a few artifacts from that time. But I would risk it. I mean, I think the cool thing is that you can die. It's not like you're eternal. You just like have to be killed. You just don't die of old age. So I would be down for a wicked battle. There's also this like little comic that I ran into on Tumblr. It was just a little cutesy, like, oh, a vampire that's dating a werewolf, and it's like, you know, like cat versus dog. And I love it because it's very much like me and Christian. Christian would 100% be a werewolf.
Wow.
Makes sense. I see that. Yeah.
What would be the perks of like werewolf life though? Like what?
I don't know because
Nature,
So
running.
I asked this question because my dad posed it to me while we were watching the TV show once, and I instantly, was like, well, I'd be a vampire, like, duh. And he was like, what? You don't want to be able to like go outside and like you have to only be awake at night and you can't eat. And I was like, yeah, that sounds fine. I was like, I don't want to be all hairy and smelly. And my dad was saying like, you can be strong and like you can get bigger in size. And I was like, I don't care about any of that. I just want to be sexy.
Continue to buy clothes because you constantly rip out of the tracksuit bottoms, like you were saying.
Yeah, you gotta get that.
You grow into them. You can't wear tight pants.
But going outside, being able to be alive during the day and like not have to suck blood, like that would be the downside of being a vampire. Is like you would literally have to kill other people.
Or you can be a vegetarian.
As a vampire?
Like the Cullens did. They drank animal blood.
Oh, yeah. Well, that depends on like the lore. What lore are we going by? You know?
I don't even know.
That's a very good thing because I don't think I could kill someone.
I don't think I could kill someone. I don't know. I mean, maybe if it was killing them by...
used to it.
Yeah. I mean, if you had to, like you got to that point, but I don't know if I could do that. What would happen to you if do you just shrivel up? Do you just Jermaine Clement?
But the werewolves also kill people and eat them. Right?
But it's kind of more like manslaughter than it is like it's like accident, right?
Yeah.
So then if I had to, then I'd rather be a vampire because then I can just like bite on their neck as opposed to like rip them to shreds.
True. That would suck to wake up and be like, oh my god, and like look, that would be. There'd be a lot of trauma to work through if you were either one of these. There would be lots.
Yeah. Wait, Owen, what was your answer?
I'd be vampire for sure. Werewolf. Yeah, no. It's kind of lame.
That's what I said. My dad tried to argue with me, and I was like, no.
Overall, werewolf lame. I think that's kind of the pure consensus.
I mean, yeah, you're just like a big dog. You don't get to wear cool clothes.
That's not sexy.
It would suck if you like really were stinky. Like if you were really stinky, like to the point where people couldn't you wouldn't be in the same room as you. Like,
but I think that was just the vampires who thought they were stinky, not like actual people.
It's true, but I'm sure you would have some kind of dog smell.
Yeah.
At some point, if you're.
But anybody with a pet has a pet smell, so they would probably just assume that they have a pet.
I don't want to smell like that though. I want to. I'm like,
you to live a normal life while being a werewolf. Like that kind of sucks if you think about it. Like you're up all night, like acting like a crazy person. Then you just have to go to your job the next day. Like, why would you want to do that?
That's true. If you're a vampire, you don't have to work.
Yeah.
You can just
you can hypnotize people. You can fly. You don't have to be. You don't have to be up during the working hours of normal people.
And
sounds like vampires are kind of base to me.
If this movie tells us anything too, you have way more excuses to be funny. Like you could turn into a bat as a joke.
True.
Yeah.
Or
You got the virgin werewolf versus the Chad vampire.
Yeah.
And on that note, no.
Tell us in the comments what you would be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Did you have a closing comment, Nayeli?
It's funny. Watch it.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you for listening to the Fifth Avenue Cinema podcast, where we come together to talk about all things cinema. If you liked the show today, please follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Fifth Avenue Cinema with a 5, where you can also reach us for questions or comments. You can reach us by email at film@pbx.edu. We hope you enjoyed today's episode as much as we enjoyed making it. We'll catch you next time. And as always, remember, all Black Lives Matter and defund the police.